He breaks down plays better than anyone.
I mean, this is like Shark Week now. And you know what Baker Mayfield is? He's chum. Look at these sharks. You think you're getting away from those 4 angry sharks? It's Shark Week. It's time to eat. Make the read. Urgency. That's the name of the game right here. Urgency. Now, on it. He's on it. Touchdown. Beautiful throw.
He's our 95.7 The Game NFL insider, Brian Baldinger.
Oh, we love when Baldy joins us every single Tuesday, 7:30. I see the whiteboard behind him. He's got all these notes. You see he was at MetLife Stadium talking to Sauce, Quentin Williams. I love when he's on the field before the games, man. Those are some of my favorite photos on Instagram, man. Baldy's in the building, and he's breaking down Niners football. He was breaking down the game against the Saints. A shutout, Baldy, a shutout. 4 straight second halves where an opponent hasn't scored against his defense. Are they playing the best football? When you look around the league at defenses, Dallas and New England and all these other teams, where do Niners stack up?
Well, when teams can't find the end zone, Bonte, I mean, you're sort of at the top of the list. I mean, even when they got down there to the 6-yard line, you see Huff knock the ball out, and you just see, just a bunch of BBs just fighting for the ball. They're playing as well as anybody. I mean, they're really coordinated. I don't think they blitzed once the other day against New Orleans. I think they rushed 4. The linebackers were as good as I've seen them play all year, including Aziz in there, played quite a bit, along with Huff. I mean, that layer of defense was just swarmed New Orleans. And, Alvin Kamara is a great player in this league. To see him fumble twice because of forced fumbles, like Fred just cocked that right hand of his and just punched the ball out. Like, not many guys know how to do that. And then to see Huff just, like, spinning him sideways going into score. Those are game-changing plays right there. And it started on the 3rd play of the game, and then when the closest they got to the goal line all day, they delivered another punch. And so it was, to answer your question, I don't see anybody playing any better.
Wow.
But, it's all about matchups. And so, you see Kansas City again or somebody like that can really air it out, and got a lot of guys that can challenge you. They'll get challenged with a team like that.
You referenced Fred Warner and the punch out on Alvin Kamara. He's been a great player in this league. Last year, I felt like he over pursued a lot, and he was trying to prove too much with the money. Is he playing the best football of his career this year?
Yeah, he is. Because I think he's what you see is just a high level of communication. And both, basically they're a 2-linebacker team, him and Dre, but Aziz played a lot the other day. And typically tandem linebackers, and you got to add Huff in there because of how much he plays in a box.
Okay.
But you got to play together. If one guy goes back door to try to make a play, you better have the other guy going front side in case you don't get there that can cover for you. And you can't always do that in the huddle. Sometimes you have to do it on the fly. Sometimes you got to be talking as the ball is snapped. And so what I see is, yes, I think Fred is playing the best he has played. He's always been very smart. He's always been very good in the pass game, getting depth, reading route combinations. He's always been good at that. Now I feel like I feel like he doesn't feel like he has to make every play. And so it's not unusual some weeks where Greenlaw leads the team in tackles or Huff leads the team in tackles. Like, he doesn't have to put up 15 tackles, every Sunday for this defense to be great.
We're talking to Brian Baldinger, as we do every single Tuesday here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game, and this Niners defense, I believe, is a championship defense. You brought up Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, we already know about, but also Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw, I think nobody knows about this guy. And I remember the first game he ever played, Shasky's in the bleachers. I'm in the press box. He goes, this 57 is flying around. I'm like, well, Shasky's got to get under control. Well,
it's a preseason game.
It's a preseason game, right? I was like, all right, he's over pursuing a little bit. Get it. It's his first NFL game. This guy at times can be reckless, but boy, is he a tone setter. And I think he's a throwback linebacker, Baldy, where guys are going to think twice about running that slant hard over the middle because Dre Greenlaw's looking to take heads off, and we need that more in this game. I get all the safety concerns, but he's a throwback linebacker, and he's the perfect complement to me when it comes to Fred Warner. He's a perfect complement to Fred Warner at the linebacker spot for this Niners defense.
Well, you can't have enough speed on the field. Speed just changes games. And so, 15-yard plays, become 5-yard plays, on the outside and on the edge. And so speed is the that's what Jimmy Johnson built his defense in Dallas on. He built it on speed, undersized, speed guys. So that's that part of it. And then, the most valuable real estate in a football game is the middle of the field. That's where the big things happen. That's where the big plays happen in the middle of the field, the plays over the middle. You gotta own the real estate in the middle of the field. Sidelines, you got the sidelines. You can get anybody to the sideline, get them out of bounds. The middle of the field is what you got to own. And so when you got Greenlaw and Warner and Huff right now owning the middle of that field, it's difficult. It's difficult to go to work in there.
When you see Hufanga and you're watching this guy run around, there was a player, he blitzes, and he doesn't make the play, but somebody else comes and cleans it up. And I think that was to the communication that you're talking about. He's just all over the place. When you watch this guy, I mean, is there things that he could do better? Because it feels like he's got a Pro Bowl bid staring him in the face this year.
I don't know if, all it is, Joe, at this point, early in this career, is just recognition. Just, there's an old thing that we used to say, know the formation, know the play. And it's so true. You can give you all the window dressing and all the motions and all that stuff. But at the end, they got to snap the ball in some formation. And so really, you study formations and formations, what the play is going to be a large part of the time. But so I think it's just recognition right now, Joe. You can always get better because, the quicker you can see things, the quicker you can react, the less time you think. That's part of it. He also does something so subtle that is just watch him go back and watch this game, Joe, again, okay. All right, because I know you said it. Watch him after he tackles somebody and how he gets up. He gets up standing over the top of the person, like Kamara. Yeah. 3 times, like Kamara's trying to get up, and he's literally standing on top of him, and he won't let him up. And it's by design. It's just a little intimidating thing. Yeah. Like, you still have to deal with me. Even though you're tackling, we're getting on to the next play, you're still dealing with me. Like it's a psychology thing. Yeah. That, and then the team, Fred, I've talked to Fred about this, but they did it again, and it's going to happen. And it might happen this week against Miami. I don't know. But they pick up every loose ball on the field. Mm-hmm. And Huff does it just instinctively. And now they haven't scooped and scored. I don't think they have yet this year. But they're going to because they practice it. If they're doing it in the games, they're doing it in practice. And if they're doing it in practice, do it in the games, then there's going to be a loose ball somewhere. And they're going to pick it up and score, whether it's Drake or Huff or Freddie. It's just something that I believe all teams should practice. You just don't see enough teams doing it.
Is the Troy Polamalu comparison just too spot on, or is there someone else that he reminds you of?
No, it reminds me of Troy. But Troy was, he was bigger.
Yeah,
he was bigger. He had Ryan Clark there in Pittsburgh for most of his career. And really, Ryan was, I'm not saying that Jimmy Ward or Gibson or any, I'm not saying any of these guys can't do it. But, the one thing that I always admired about Troy is just how aggressive he was at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And you'd go, well, how is it that he can be this aggressive at the line, yet they never get beat on the back end? So a lot of that was Ryan Clark covering for him. And then he just had this ability to recover if he was just completely wrong on his guess. But you got to let instinctive players be instinctive. Ed Reed is the greatest free safety we've ever seen because he just had a feeling where the ball was going to go. Wasn't always right, but, nobody has, 60-plus interceptions like Ed. And I feel like with Huff, you have to let him freelance a little bit and let him take chances because he's so good at it. And that's what made Troy. Now, the other part, though, honestly, Joe, like I had to do this thing for Troy Polamalu, who went in the Hall of Fame, and I just was putting together this video compilation. I couldn't even put some of the plays in because they were so violent. I didn't want to be that guy who was saying this is the way the game's supposed to be played. I work for the league. I can't. Like I had to edit it out. Like these hits were brutal in the middle of the field. I know the game has changed.
Yes,
it had to change. But like you go back and you watch him play, like if Huff was in that era, you'd probably see even more Polamalu from him.
Wow.
Really?
Wow. And you know what? Forget Pro Bowls, Baldy. I want to see him make an all-pro team. I feel like he's playing like an all-pro, like Nick Bosa, like Fred Warner Jr., and maybe Charvarius Ward, who is quietly the best free agent signing the Niners have had in quite some time. Could you speak about his game and what he's doing outside at cornerback?
Well, first of all, it's hard to find tall corners. Tall, long corners. That's what he is. but then tall, long corners that really specialize in press coverage. Travarius, from the day he arrived in Kansas City as a free agent, like he literally was he wouldn't let people get off the line of scrimmage. And so that's what he's best at. You can't always just play press man. There's different defenses for different situations and different teams, but that's what he's best at. And that's what he loves to do. And, most guys that play that style, I mean, you're going to get beat, you're going to get penalties, it's just part of it. But you're going to take guys out. Of the play, out of their game plan because of what he can do. It was a great signing. They needed a corner. I don't know, if they had Mosley and him, like that might be just, all they needed. But look, all you really need is one great press corner in your defense. One guy that you can really slow things down, just disrupt the timing, whether it's just, Z slant or, whatever the call is. Like, just to disrupt that timing between quarterback and receiver.
I was watching your timeline yesterday, and you posted a video about Max Crosby for the Raiders and how great Max Crosby's playing. And, of course, Niner fans are all up in your mentions. And what about Nick Bosa? What about Nick Bosa? We'll get to Nick Bosa in a second. But from someone who's got a zoomed-out, not biased viewpoint, what do you look for criteria as you're trying to figure out who the defensive player of the year is? Because Judon's having a great year. Obviously, the kid in Dallas, Micah Parsons, is outstanding. 2 sacks on Thanksgiving. Bosa, we want to say, is deep boy. What goes into your criteria?
Well, first of all, you just got to look way beyond sacks. Okay, I mean, I know people love sacks. That's great. It's the first thing that comes out of people's mouths. That's okay. He's just played every single snap 2 weeks in a row. Never come off the field once.
Who's this?
And one of those games was at 6,000 feet in Denver. He doesn't come off the field. He plays every snap. Look at the number of tackles that Max Crosby has. Yeah. Like, none of these guys, TJ Watt, Nick, nobody has tackles, the number of tackles. Then you look, he leads the league right now in tackle for losses. The quarterback hits are way up. You look at him at the end of games. Just watch him in that game last Sunday. Watch him at the end of the game. He just knows how to take a game over. And so I haven't seen anybody play the game. I respect TJ and Nick and Matt Judon. They're all great players.
Yeah.
None of them play every snap. None of them put up the total tackle numbers. And the biggest thing is his ability to defeat every block. Not one block, not this block, not a trap block, every block. Nobody blocks him. Nobody. He gets off every single block. And I've asked him about it. Like, how do you do it? Like, how do you see it so fast? And that's the thing is he sees the play so quickly. And so he has the ability to defeat every block that comes at him. And then he is indefatigable. I mean, first play to last play. It never changes.
Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. All right, we talk a lot of defense here, but we know a lot of people want to know what's going on with the offense. They had a great game in Mexico City against Arizona. They scored 13 points against the Saints. Look, Baldy, I don't care. This isn't the BCS. We're not going for style points here. It's all about stacking W's. But they were sluggish offensively. What led to that? Was it a byproduct of the Saints' defense? Was it the Niners not executing? Were they sloppy? What did you see from the 49ers offense this past Sunday against New Orleans?
I thought they were a little sloppy, a little. I mean, details. I mean, it's all in the details. If you're going to run toss crack and pull Trent Williams, well, you better block the end. The end comes free. The play gets blown up. They run a touchdown right up the middle. Eli right up the middle, touchdown. Gets called back. You could debate whether Kittle has a hold or not have a hold, but it gets called back. They had a number of penalties that just make drives tough. Jimmy sees the field really well. When he gets to the red zone, it's a guess sometimes whether he's going to make the right read, and if he does make the right read, if he's going to make a good throw. It's just you can put all the numbers up, and I saw him against Steve Young and Joe Montana, number win. All that's fine. He makes you hold your breath sometimes in the red zone when things get compressed. And there's just a lot of bodies flying around, and you watch these passes sometimes, and you just go, whew, we're lucky there.
Well, Baldy, let's expand on that because the red zone efficiency for the team has been frustrating, and you look up, they actually do score a lot of touchdowns in comparison to the rest of the league. But is that an area where you can kind of separate the elite quarterbacks from the just good quarterbacks, the red zone?
Well, yes and no, Joe, because if you're going to say if you compare everybody to Mahomes, which isn't really fair, but if you do, his ability just to extend plays is uncanny, and then to have the rocket arm when there is a sliver of an opening to make the throw. We see it every week, right? Mm-hmm. So Jimmy doesn't have that game. He doesn't have that ability to just get outside the pocket and then create. Every once in a while, yes, he can, but it's really not his game, and so he kind of has to do it from the pocket, and it just limits where you can go with the ball sometimes.
Well, you were saying that you were at the Jets game, and so I'm seeing how that team was rallying behind Mike White, excuse me. And we're seeing all these different leadership issues just across the league, whether it's Russell Wilson getting yelled at by a teammate, Aaron Rodgers and teammates have had disagreements. Does the leadership factor, the things that the guys like Jimmy, can that overcome some of his physical deficiencies? Because it feels like it has at times.
Yeah, no, I think there's, first of all, there's nobody else. It's not like they have, one B sitting on the bench right now. Yeah. They don't. It's all Jimmy. So they need to keep him healthy. They need to keep him upright. They need to get him through the season to the postseason. So they need him bad. It's not like, okay, Trey Lance is, he's in the wings. It's not. So they need him, number one. And number two, I think they realize that this isn't, You can win a lot of games with Jimmy. To win a Super Bowl now, and that's what it's all about in San Francisco. That quiets everybody when you do it, if you can do it. But there's just guys in this league that are just elite. I mean, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're just on different levels. Period. I mean, they just are.
I mean,
they
Josh
put the ball
Allen
wherever they want to put it, whenever they want to put it.
Joe Burrow Sunday in Tennessee was unbelievable. Him and T. Higgins, no chase, no mixing, and they find a way to get it done, and all of a sudden Cincinnati 7-2.
That pass to Trenton Irwin.
Trent Irwin on the sideline. Unbelievable. I watched the whole game. I was just like, damn, Joe Burrow. We forgot about this guy because they started 0-2, and now the Bengals, look out for them in AFC North.
Bonte, but it's interesting you bring up Cincinnati because to me, Cincinnati isn't a great team. They played a great game. Mm-hmm. They played a great game. They've got weaknesses. Their offensive line isn't great. They don't run the ball great. But they're without Joe Mixon, they're without Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could be as two of the biggest pieces in the whole team. But, in these games, and you're going to get one on Sunday, like, can you take your team game to another level? Like Cincinnati said, no way Derrick Henry's beating us. And they played the most physical game they played that I've ever seen them play. And but they had that in them. Yeah. It's in them to do it.
Yep.
And they pulled it out. Some of that is coaching. Some of that is X's and O's. Some of that is just the locker room that you have. And that's kind of what is still waiting in the wings on the San Francisco team. I think we all know they're talented, but so what? Plenty of talented teams never go anywhere in the playoffs. Cowboys are one of those teams.
Right.
So you have to have that ability to pull your A game out in whatever way it has to be. If you're going to see a passing academy this weekend, unlike anything they've seen. So pass coverage, pressure, hands in Tua's face. Like, you've got to find a way to, and like I'm just watching this kid, Jalen Petrie of Houston, like knock the living stuffing out of Tyreek Hill last week. Huh. And Tyreek Hill's slow to get up. Like, you can't let those guys run down the freeways untouched without getting blown up this weekend. You just can't do it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I've been thinking about when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. I've already turned the page on the Saints. Collapsing the pocket, making Tua face pressure all day long. It didn't hit no small one. Look, Waddle and Tyreek Hill are dynamic. Shaska's asked me, would you rather have those two guys or the personnel of the 49ers? And at this point, Baldy, I don't care. I just want to stack wins. But can you lay a finger on these guys this Sunday, especially with the way they're chirping? They're feeling themselves in Miami a little bit.
Well, they lost Teron Armstead. He was the most – that was the one player they couldn't afford to lose.
Yep.
He's their best offensive lineman. He's the leader. I know Teron very well. Like, he's just a calming influence to be around. He's very smart. He's very talented. Like, you just need him in the huddle, period. They lose him. They got a kid out there that's going to struggle against Bosa, whoever lines up. Like, Bosa has to have his best game of the year because he's going right to the front side of Tua. Now, Tua is very elusive. He's got tremendous feet. he is almost always set perfectly to throw a football. Like mechanically, he's about as sound as you get. But he isn't tall, all right? So he has a hard time with guys in his face. Their play action game is spot on. He gets a lot of benefit from that. But I mean, they've got to ruin these guys up front. This is not an elite offense line, especially without Taron. Like this last week, I thought the linebackers owned that game, and one of the reasons why they pitched a shutout. This week, your defensive line have got to win this game. It's in the hands of your defensive line.
I'm so fascinated with all the quarterback talk, and Tua's a guy that I think the majority of America was ready to write off, and then they acquired Tyreek Hill. They have a coaching change. Is it just as simple as Mike McDaniels and adding Tyreek Hill has made Tua better, or have you seen actual growth from Tua?
Well, I've seen growth, but the growth is due to an elite coach, all right? And there's not enough good coaches in this league. Okay. You got a great coach that knows how to communicate really well, knows how to prepare and communicate on an elite level, and just exude confidence. I mean, first game of the season, 4th and 9, midfield, Patriots, you went for it. And it was perfect execution. Most coaches would have just punted that ball away. It was a defining moment in that game, and I think it sent a message to the team that we are not going to ever stop attacking. Number one. Tyreek makes a big difference. But, I mean, Jeffrey Wilson, Raheem Mostert, like all these guys, right. Sherfield, Craycraft, I mean, all these guys from San Francisco have been really, really good. And then, look, somebody said Connor Williams can be an elite center in this league. I didn't think so because he wasn't a very good guard, but he's a very good center. And so, they personnel-wise, they really added some pieces to the offense line. Now, they're crumbling a little bit. Left guard's out, left tackle's out. So they're getting to their depth right now. And that's going to get tested, on Sunday.
Tell us a little about this Dolphins defense. We know they made the trade for Bradley Chubb. Xavier Howard's out there playing corner, but I don't know too much about this defense. What are the challenges for this Niners offense against this Dolphins defense?
Well, they've got a great free safety in Javon Holland. He's about as good as anybody in this business. He kind of covers the back end, number 8. He's really good. Howard is not having a season like we have used to seeing, but he's got elite ball skills. He's an excellent man-to-man coverage guy. And he will travel if he feels like if it's IU or Debo, he will travel with guys. They've been down corners this year, so they haven't played as much press man as they like to. And then, they've invested heavily in their defensive front. I mean, they got number 1 draft picks all over the place, whether it's Jalen Phillips or Christian Wilkins or Bradley Chubb. I mean, talking about guys at the top of the first round on their defensive front. So they are very, very big, and they are talented up front. So, running the ball against them, and teams have run it against them, is a little bit of a challenge. Wilkins is a very good challenge for the interior of your offensive line. He's an elite player that doesn't get much recognition or a mention, but he's a very, very good player.
Yeah, two natty championships at Clemson, Shasky.
Baldy, is there frost on the pumpkin? Is it officially frost on the pumpkin season?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I came out. I had to, actually turn the heater on in the car, get the frost off the windshield this morning before I could, it was 5:30 in the morning. To get down here to films, it was took a little bit of de-icing to get that thing done.
This is the best part of the year, though.
We're in it right now, Joe.
Right.
The season started.
I love it.
It's December.
Every one of these games is just magnified at this point.
I mean, think about last weekend, man. You had Cincinnati upsetting Tennessee. Buffalo going out to the wire against a tough Lions team that's trying to find its way. You had Washington hold on. Nobody's talking about the Commanders. They're playing some good football, and they hold on for dear life against Atlanta. Last weekend, and in college football, I mean, it was a hell of a weekend, and now we're into December. This is where people get paid, man. I can't wait. Where are you at this weekend, Baldy?
I'm right here in Philadelphia, Tennessee and Philadelphia. Ooh. Sunday afternoon at the Link. Tennessee's gonna bring their A game to Philadelphia. That will be a war. That'll be a war inside right there.
Baldy, tell Philadelphia's tailgating scene I'm coming for them in the playoffs.
Oh boy.
They're already lining up right now. It's Tuesday, Joe. They're already making the plans.
Joe wants to
they're
see
getting the grills out there right now and getting their tent set up. It'll be a wild, wild scene. In fact, maybe I'll shoot a little video.
Please.
Walking into the Link on Sunday. Share it with you, Joe.
Please do it. Please do it. Hey, look, Baldy, Joe wants Philadelphia.
I do. I want them.
I'm a little petrified of that offensive line and that defensive line. They win in the trenches. They run for over 300 yards in a game over the Green Bay Packers. Philadelphia's playing at a high level, man. That's a scary football team.
When when they ran it like Oklahoma did back with Barry Switzer, like against Wichita Baptist.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
Brian Baldy.
353. Nobody runs for 300 plus yards.
It's unreal, dude.
49 times.
It was Nebraska versus Iowa State in the old Big 8 or something, man. It was. I don't want to see that team.
Let's go. We're not going to throw the ball today. We're going to run it every play. Try to stop us.
Baldy, you're the best, man. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
See you, Baldy.
I'll see you guys.
All right, man. Tom Osborne.